was 6 years old.
The castle was probably built by Walter de Lacy and completed around 1085. The original tower was likely to be a gatehouse with a different northern-facing wall and being 2 stories high rather than 3. There were 4 original towers: the southwestern Oven Tower, the western Postern Tower, the northwest tower and the northeastern Pendover Tower. The towers themselves have changed over time from their original incarnation, and it's difficult for historians to imagine with later changes having taken place. In the early 12th century, ownership of the castle passed through the de Lacys to Payne FitzJohn. Payne was killed by a spear when helping to put down Welsh rebellions in 1137. When civil war broke out between Matilda and her cousin Stephen in 1135, the period that became known as the Anarchy began. Gilbert de Lacy took charge of the castle, but Stephen laid siege to it successfully, including saving his ally Prince Henry of Scotland from a hook being used from within the castle wall. In 1139, Stephen placed Jos de Dinan in charge of Ludlow Castle. A local war then took place between Jos and Gilbert de Lacy. Gilbert retook the castle shortly before 1153. At this time, the local Wigmore chronicler tells the story of the capture of Fulk Fitzwarren, who escaped from the castle with the help from Marion de Breux, who eventually threw herself off the northeastern Pendover Tower. This has led to the infamous ghost story. As with any romance of this type, there is some dispute as to its accuracy. Gilbert de Lacy is referred to as Walter, and some believe the capture of Fulk Fitzwarren merely ended with the paying of a fine. It was also around this part of the late 12th century that Gilbert de Lacy probably built the circular chapel of Mary Magdalene in the Inner Bailey. It was built in the Templar style based on the Church of Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, on the supposed site of Christ's tomb.
Construction of the Outer Bailey took place during the period after the Anarchy and was very possibly established by Hugh de Lacy. It is likely that the construction of the fortification may have included the destruction of part of the new town of Ludlow, which shows the importance of the castle's fortifications against the lesser importance of the needs of the people of the new town. However, the construction of the Outer Bailey also changed the orientation of the castle from its warlike original viewpoint over the River Teme to the labour centre and increasingly commercial basis of the growing town, which is expanding on the flattened top of the cliff behind the castle. There are significant problems for historians in this period, none more so than over the changes to the tower keep. During this period, the gate was moved from the base of the tower to a more suitable entrance to the east where it remains today. This was probably to create greater privacy and reduce traffic in the keep. However, some historians failed to notice this change to the keep. There is also further speculation about the north wall of the keep, which was knocked down and rebuilt at some point, although it is difficult to date these changes. It possibly occurred at the time when the keep was increased in size to 3 stories. The original entrance to the keep causes further problems for historians. Here, ornate pillars and archways give some indication of the original grandeur of the castle entrance. However, further speculation exists concerning the high ceiling of this entrance. Was there perhaps an earlier floor in which murder holes might have been located, or is this the same ceiling that would have impressed its early visitors? Owners of the castle in its time as a Norman fortress continue to play a role in national events, with Hugh de Lacy featuring campaigns in Ireland in 1172, which saw the castle taken by the crown to ensure his continued loyalty. Perhaps one of the most bizarre twists of fate occurred in 1194 when Prince John's rebellion against King Richard was opposed by Walter, but he somehow failed to meet the approval of Richard himself, who again confiscated the castle and other of his property. In 1223, the castle was again the setting for a national event when Henry III met the Welsh prince Llewellyn ab Iorwerth at the fortress for peace talk negotiations, which ultimately proved to be unsuccessful. Henry III lost control of power in the 1260s, resulting in the Second Barons' War across England. In 1264, the rebel leader Simon de Montfort seized Ludlow Castle, but it was recaptured shortly afterwards by Henry's supporters, probably led by Geoffrey de Geneville, who would go on to be a leading creator of the fortified palace. Prince Edward escaped from captivity in Hereford in 1265 and was joined by his supporters at Ludlow Castle, leading to de Montfort's defeat at Evesham later that year. De Genneville was probably responsible for increasing the height of the towers and for creating the tower later known as Mortimer's Tower. It was probably also he who oversaw the creation of the innermost bailey. There is some controversy about Mortimer's Tower in that early 20th century historians Clark and St John Hope failed to recognise it as a gate. This is probably due to the portcullis slot and gate rebate being obscured from view during this time. They have, of course, since been exposed and can be seen by the visitor today. To end this period of building as a Norman fortress, the town walls were also probably constructed from the 1260s and linked to the castle to form a continuous ring of defences around the town. We can imagine that life in the castle at this time would have been dominated by its primary military purpose. We can expect to have seen the Lord with his knights and attendant squires, accompanied by watchmen who looked out from its towers in search of Welsh or other local threats. Building work would have been ongoing, and we might see the master mason perusing the site and checking upon the ongoing work. Carters, carpenter, smiths are all likely to have been at work. The steward would be in charge of general running of the castle in the absence of the Lord, whilst the marshal was in charge of aspects of war like blacksmiths, farriers and clocks. Meanwhile, the nobility of the castle would be ably provided for with a range of servants which would have included the chamberlain, the butler, cooks and entertaining minstrels, right down to the gong farmer whose job was to keep the castle and its surrounding clear from human waste which eked its way through the garden robes.
Over the castle.